Well, good evening and welcome to Queer News Tonight. This is the world's first and only LGBTQ+ daily evening television news. We're broadcasting live and then available on demand. And we're available on all smart televisions, including Roku, Apple TV, Android TV, Amazon Fire TV, and of course YouTube and Facebook. It's time to queer up the news. It's Tuesday, November 1st, 2022. Sadly, that means Halloween is over. We are live and literally out of the closet and into the headlines. So many of your important stories we're going to tell this evening on Queer News Tonight.
This is the world's first live daily LGBTQ evening news show, literally out of the closet and into the headlines on Queer News Tonight with Al Ferguson.
I'm your anchor at Queer News Tonight, Al Ferguson, and this evening we bring you the news of and a perspective representing the LGBTQ+ community from South Florida, America, and across our planet.
This is the world's first and only unedited live LGBTQ+ evening news show. Whatever happens unique in LGBTQ+ news, you will see it and hear it.
Happening Out Television Network is a 501c3 nonprofit media platform in the television and radio models of PBS and NPR, but designed for our LGBTQ+ community.
We are part of one of the largest LGBTQ+ media companies in America, Hotspots Magazine and Happening Out Television Network.
Our magazine is celebrating 37 years of the LGBTQ+ experience, and our television news, talk, and entertainment shows support our mission to educate the LGBTQ+ and broader community.
Let's welcome anchor Jeff Oliverio. Jeff is a founder and treasurer of the Hollywood LGBTQ+ Council, a unique community civic organization of Greater Hollywood. The council will be hosting the second annual My Hollywood Pride on January 29th, 2023. And Jeff is also the co-chairman for the 2023 National LGBTQ Task Force Gala. And I'm breaking news that he is the co-chairman for 2023 right here in this broadcast. The gala, along with its sister event, the Winter Party Festival, has given back more than $3.3 million to local LGBTQ+ community organizations. Good evening, Jeff.
Good evening. Before we get to the 2023 gala, let's focus on My Hollywood Pride in January 29, 2023. So happy to be here, and we are 1 week from Election Day, which I could not be happier about, so please get out and vote.
Yes.
Let's welcome anchor John Hayden. A journalist for 27 years, he now works for several outlets, including South Florida Gay News as a reporter and community editor, covering politics, entertainment, and local events directly impacting the LGBTQ+ community. John's interviewed everyone from presidents to Oscar winners and been on more red carpets than he can count. Also, he's gotten his ballot by mail, filled it out, and returned it. What's your excuse? Welcome, John.
Thank you so much. So much good hair. So much good hair. Let's welcome anchor Dr. Bobby Huen. Bobby is a professional mediator. He helps individuals, families, and businesses resolve their disputes. When he's not mediating, he would either be building Legos at home or having fun on the drive. 6 of one, half dozen of the other. Welcome, Bobby.
Thanks, John. Let's welcome anchor Gregg Shapiro, an inductee into the Chicago LGBT Hall of Fame. Gregg is the author of 8 books, including his latest, Fear of Muses, an entertainment journalist whose celebrity interviews and music reviews run in a variety of regional LGBTQ+ and mainstream publications and websites. His movie review column called Screensaver can be found in South Florida Gay News, San Francisco's Bay Area Reporter, RottenTomatoes.com, and more. Good evening, Gregg.
Good evening. We are the reporters for Queer News Tonight. And this evening we begin with the queer headlines. The LGBTQ+ community in South Florida and across America is diverse. Our community across the world is vast. And here are the bullet points of the queer news for today, Tuesday, November 1st, 2022, National Authors Day.
I love Arthur. It was a great film. Queer up. Now let's begin by queering up Florida and South Florida. President Biden campaigns for Crist in South Florida. This evening, Florida Memorial University welcomed the 46th President of the United States, Joe Biden, to their campus. In partnership with Florida Grassroots, FMU hosted President Biden and other special guests who expressed the importance of voting and making your voice heard. FMU President Dr. Jaffis Hardrick said before the event, quote, "This is a rare and incredible chance for our students, faculty, staff, and neighbors to hear directly from our nation's leader as our community prepares to vote, many for the first time," end quote. The event started at 4 and just wrapped up a few moments ago. President Biden was joined by the Emmy and Peabody Award-winning actor and producer Keegan-Michael Key, as well as Jennifer Lewis. There's so much at stake in the upcoming elections on November 8th, this coming Tuesday, that Florida residents, especially the LGBTQ+ community, must elect Florida Democrats up and down the ballot in November. And I really think that's the key, up and down the ballot. I talked with Adam Hattersley, who's running for CFO. He stopped by here earlier this week, and he just talked about how if people understood what was happening in Tallahassee, these very non-conservative things like getting into your medical treatment, getting into a $1 billion tax increase. If people realized they were doing it, there wouldn't be a single Republican returning to Tallahassee in January.
And that's the problem. We often overly focus on national races like senator, president, vice president, and we sometimes forget, and they sneak in that way. That's why the school boards are having, we're having now problem with school boards, with city councils. They sneak in that way, and they realize that if they can sneak in from the ground floor, they can build up policies that directly affect our community adversely, and it would take a long time to untangle.
We had hopes for the last several weeks that Queer News Tonight was going to be present in the fundraiser that's happening tonight with the President and Governor Crist, but they have turned the fundraiser reception party into a completely private affair. No cameras are allowed at all. We're going to pick it up tomorrow, where Congressman Crist will be at the Get Out the Vote Center in Wilton Drive, and we'll be there, and perhaps we're going to be doing a bit more from that. But certainly we're going to ask questions about the President's visit. I'm curious if you think, will this move the needle at all? The President comes to Broward County, says Broward County and South Florida in general is important to the state races and to the national landscape. Will it make any difference?
I mean, I think it's interesting that he's campaigning with Crist and not our candidate for Senate, Val Demings. The Senate was so crucial in passing the historic legislation that President Biden passed. And while, of course, we would love to have Crist as our governor, that would make a huge difference here in Florida, losing a Democrat or gaining another Democratic senator would help pass future legislation or protect us in other races where we may not have an advantage. I know the messaging today was a lot about Medicare, which, of course, 2 of our senators, I believe, want to either vote on every year or repeal. And Biden was also talking about his prescription drug plan that lowered prescription drug costs. And we have a few seniors here. A few of them live in Wilton Manors, actually.
Yeah. Are you talking to me?
No. No. But it's interesting to be in a state with so many retired people that these issues are just not breaking through. And I do worry that Biden went on the road to tout those achievements a little too late.
It should have been sooner. It definitely should have been sooner.
Yeah.
But I actually like from my perspective, I like the celebrity firepower they brought in, and especially Jennifer Lewis, who is a former harlot, one of Bette Midler's harlots. She's very political and very outspoken. Yes. So I think it's great to have someone like that who's got a loud voice and a good platform.
And but to your question, will it move the needle? Honestly, we won't know, because there are so many races down the ballot, like the school boards and everything, that don't get pulled. The state house races that don't get pulled. All we can do is bring him here, bring Governor Crist here, hope that it moves the needle enough, or at least staunches the bleeding that will hold on to some seats that might still be on the fence.
And let's take the temperature of the President of the United States being right on top of us. Came into Hollywood, by the way. Right on top of us. To my question, very specifically, does it move the needle or does it help motivate LGBT vote get out? Any effect on the President being here for LGBT going, he's our guy, and therefore we're going to support down the ballot? We'll start at the top and move down, or we'll start at the bottom and move up. Is it going to make a difference for LGBT?
I just hope a lot of people have already voted. I mean, that's the issue. We're talking about 1 week to the election.
I apologize, but I'm going to keep holding on to y'all until you say, stop, Al, I surrender. You haven't voted yet. Is the president's presence 7 days in advance of the election important in South Florida for LGBT?
No.
You don't?
If he had come here earlier, maybe.
It's so do we think it's too late?
Yes.
Yes.
I do think it's about organization, and organization doesn't happen a week before the election.
All right. Well, one related thing, and we're happy to do it. We had yesterday and today 13 requests for interviews from all Democratic candidates. I don't know if that's a good thing or it's a bad thing. We're going to do it, but to your point about organization, it's coming at the very last moment.
Yeah.
We'll talk about it and talk about it and talk about it. Please get out to vote. The only thing that you can't be expressing is that you're not going to vote. That's the only thing that you can't do in the next week.
Now let's queer up some more politics. Humiliated gay conservative pleads guilty to homophobic death threats against Congressman. A Pennsylvania man has pled guilty to making death threats to Representative Eric Swalwell and members of his staff. Joshua Hall, 22, pled guilty to 1 count of making interstate communications with a threat to injure and faces a maximum sentence of 5 years in prison. He had previously pled guilty to charges of wire fraud in relation to a fake fundraising organization, Gay Voices for Trump. Hall admitted to impersonating Trump family members on social media, including the former president's son Barron and late brother Robert, in an effort to defraud donors. In late August, Swalwell revealed that he and his staff had been the targets of threatening phone calls from someone claiming to be a gay conservative. Swalwell tweeted at the time, quote, "A staffer of mine who's 1 month into her job received a call from a man saying he's coming to our office with an assault rifle to kill me," end quote. According to the memo shared by Swalwell, the caller ranted about gay issues and, quote, said he is a gay man, but he doesn't take it up the ass, he gives it, end quote. The man used the F slur several times to describe other gay men. Swalwell has warned about the attacks on the gay community in the past, saying, quote, "I hesitate to share this, but how else do I tell you we are in violent times and the architects are Trump and McCarthy. Bloodshed is coming," end quote. I happened to see him interviewed last night on Joy Reid on MSNBC. He talked about being out with his family, trick-or-treating, and just talking about the risks that they face as people in Congress and their families face, who are not, traveled around, have less security, and it's scary times we live in. I mean,
Jeff, I have to ask you, related to that, of course, we're following the Pelosi story, which is just shockingly horrifying. The story that we're watching. So you're the national chairman for the National Task Force dinner. You're in advocacy just by its very nature of advocating, because you're volunteering and supporting your efforts for the National Task Force, which is a political organization. Did it ever cross your mind in this last year of what you've done with the task force over the last number of years with organizations like My Hollywood Pride? Do you ever think about your safety as it relates to how you're advocating in community?
We did a voter equality march to the polls on Saturday with the Hollywood Council, fortunately, the police have been very supportive of the work we do with Hollywood Pride, and Hollywood police have been overwhelmingly supportive. But we had a police escort of 3 SUVs from the Hollywood police as we marched down what we would call a very tame downtown area in Hollywood. And as it was happening, I looked around and I said, I feel better that we have this escort, because I thought about people driving through crowds with cars. I thought about people coming out with guns. I definitely thought about it. And we had done this 2 years ago during the pandemic, and we had Debbie Wasserman Schultz there, and we had less security. at the time. So it was very interesting. And we got the police involved, of course, that we were doing a march. So it was good to have them there, but it definitely crossed my mind.
Yeah, it just shows how things have ramped up. I mean, just worse and worse.
Well, and there's so many jokes to be made about this story. This man who threatens them, but it's not funny anymore because of the Pelosi attack and political violence. I was hoping, and it didn't come to pass, but I was hoping that the January 6th would be a watershed moment in a different sort of way. But it appears that we have crossed the Rubicon, and we're just not going to be going back from it. Because this attack on Pelosi, you've got Trump's oldest son joking about it. You've got other Republican luminaries that are out there making jokes about it. If someone even bought a hammer at a hardware store down the street from Donald Trump, conservatives would be going crazy. These are violent times, and the sad thing is they're only going to get more violent.
Yeah, it's his quote about as a warning for LGBTQ community. This congressman is not gay. Is not it does not identify have family, children. Does not identify in the LGBTQ community. It is chilling to me that he is willing to so clearly say bloodshed is coming. Not I fear that. He doesn't couch it in the what if. He says it as a declarative statement. That's what's so ominous in this.
And I just want to add the perpetrator, this guy, we are looking at essentially a very prototypical example of someone who has so much self-loathing that he is working against your own civil rights. I mean, if this guy is 50 years old and has a law degree, that's Roy Cohn.
Right.
And it's also funny to me as I think about this, whatever the acronym of the whatever gay of whatever of Trump. We followed Strzok closely and #walkaway and the gays for Trump. And the ridiculousness of the many, many things that we saw in these organizations. I have repeatedly said for conservatives in the LGBTQ community that their voice should be heard and they should have a seat at the table to be able to discuss the issues. But at some point you have to say their desire is not to sit at the table and discuss the issues. Their desire is the overthrow of the democratic process of the United States of America.
Right, to be contrarian.
Yeah, to be contrarian, to do that. And so this guy is nothing more than a criminal. That's the end result of what this gay for Trump was. And the second thing that I would say is I have a friend that made it very clear to me of something that intuitively did not make sense to me, but today completely does. And the observation is, Al, you know that there are roaches for raid. And that is a really great statement of helping us understand the illustration of what this congressman is telling us in terms of bloodshed is coming. There are some people that are what they are, and we should believe their words because their words are dangerous. And one of them broke into Speaker Pelosi's house over the weekend in San Francisco. We should believe them when they have zip ties and they have a hammer and they ask, "Where's Nancy?"
And they've turned the narrative about that attack and brought LGBTQ people into the room and created a completely false narrative that then puts another target on our back around a storyline that had nothing to do with our community.
Years old, by the way.
Right.
He's like 82 years old and he's in his underwear at 2 o'clock
Because he was
in the
sleeping,
morning.
yeah.
But as octogenarians go, he's pretty sexy.
Okay.
John.
Yeah,
But
okay, all right.
yeah, the thing is, and now with Twitter being under Elon Musk, that risk is even greater. The first thing that Elon Musk tweeted about the Pelosi's was exactly the same conspiracy theories. He doesn't bother to fact check. He has suspended content moderation. Twitter is becoming a cesspool.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, next up. Let's queer up education. University of Florida faculty has no confidence vote against anti-LGBTQ+ Senator Ben Sasse. The University of Florida Faculty Senate approved a no-confidence resolution Thursday on the on the selection process to appoint U.S. Senator Ben Sasse as the next president. The 67-15 vote comes after Sasse, a Republican senator from Nebraska, became the only person considered for the high-ranking position at one of Florida's largest universities. His candidacy sparked controversy on campus partially due to his 2015 comments on LGBTQ rights after the Supreme Court ruled to guarantee same-sex marriage at the federal level. The independent Florida Alligator reported that when pressed about the comments during an on-campus forum earlier this month, Sasse said the decision was, quote, the law of the land, end quote, adding that, quote, it wasn't going to change in the near future, end quote. When asked about promoting diversity at the university, Sasse said, and I quote, I want us to figure it out by listening to our community and our conversation. Who is not feeling included, and how do we tackle those problems and reduce those barriers, end quote. Following the High Court's landmark decision on same-sex marriage, Sasse took the stance that only a man and a woman should get married and create a family. The emergency meeting on Thursday included an extensive discussion on the selection process for president, including requests for more clarity on the process. Ultimately, the Faculty Senate voted to approve the no confidence resolution. That quote right there, about the diversity quote, that is 20 words of emptiness. There's nothing, there's no substance in that sentence.
Well, you know when he's lying, his lips are moving.
And in addition to that, a diversity exploration is not left to the community, because the absolute fact of diversity, of minority protection, is to protect the minority from the majority, which is why you don't poll public opinion of the broad community, because they would generally say, no, we're going to oppress the minority. That's why you don't go to the community. He rings a dog whistle of saying, let's be democratic, but really, we're not talking about being democratic.
That has been the calling card for conservative legal movements for a while now. I mean, the Supreme Court's conservative justice keeps saying that LGBTQ rights should not be judged at the courts, but at the ballot box. You know, you should follow the political process, except that, you know, it is the tyranny of the majority. The minority will never get...
of the majority.
Yeah. You know, now let's be clear. Politicians being appointed to university presidents are not new. No. Donna Shalala was a former secretary under President Clinton. She was appointed University of Miami. Granted, that's not a state university, and I get that. But this is a Governor DeSantis essentially appointment. And what's most disturbing is the legislature has made it so you cannot access public records to look at how this decision was made. We cannot do a Freedom of Information request, or FOIA. You might hear it mentioned in news sometimes. We can't get those documents. So we have no idea how he was appointed this, other than the fact that he probably sat down, had martinis with DeSantis, and was like, all right, you're the new president, and then I'll be president.
Well, again, you would hope that these issues are motivating young voters to the polls. Again, you can see what a governor can do. They can appoint a university president. And then we have in the Supreme Court that considering the challenge to for affirmative action happening right in front of our face, and the possibility that it is going to be struck down and found unconstitutional, and which will, impact, so many, people of diverse backgrounds of getting into the university. So here you're going to have a president of the university put in place by a extreme right-wing governor, and now you're going to have the Supreme Court striking down affirmative action. Yep. So, did you have any more reasons to vote as a young person? When
we broke the news and we first reported at Queer News Tonight the issue of him being considered as University of Florida, I had a meltdown tirade at Queer News Tonight in commenting on this story, and a lot of people criticized me for it, and so I'll give it a second try now. The reason why this decision reflection is so incredibly dangerous as a summary of Governor Ron DeSantis is Senator Ben Sasse's selection. It is at the top of the mountain of how terrible Governor DeSantis is and how dangerous he's going to be to the United States of America. The senior senator from Nebraska has every right to be batshit crazy if he wants to be, and he is. He's batshit crazy, and his philosophical beliefs in so many areas. That's one thing. You get to be the senator of Nebraska and be batshit crazy. Okay, that's what America is, and it's allowed in Nebraska, and it's allowed everywhere. And while I don't like it, it's a democracy in action. That's not what we're watching here. We are watching a governor of a state that is selecting a crony in a philosophical belief to be the president of one of the top 10 universities in America. And the reason that is a horrendous decision is a president, which is why the Senate of university professors at university vote no confidence in the decision making to select him, is the president of a university, of especially one of the great universities in America, one of the greatest public universities in America. You would never allow batshit crazy from Nebraska to be the president, because the university in and of itself is designed to propel minority interest. We already know older universal white guys will be the future coming out of the University of Florida. The president of the university is designed to protect LGBT, religious minority, Asian minority, Latinos, women, etc., black in terms of people of color. When batshit crazy from Nebraska goes out on the limb of what he says about LGBT, he is reflecting his opinions on a wide variety of minority. So while it is not as public, he has similar beliefs in the closet about black, about women, about Latinos, about. That is not a position for a university president, especially one of the great universities in America. It is a reflection of terrible decision making at the University of Florida, but even worse, it's proof positive of how dangerous Governor Ron DeSantis is for America. It's proof, even more than don't say gay. It's proof.
And, well, thank you, Alan. Thank you. Next, we are proud of our special partnership with Sunshine Cathedral, the world's largest queer church here in Fort Lauderdale. Supporting that partnership, we are broadcasting from our permanent set here at Sunshine Cathedral at the Happening Out television studios. We broadcast Sunshine Cathedral Sunday's international service at 10:30 a.m. with more than 30,000 watching every week.
I'm Effie Passero from American Idol, and Sunshine Cathedral is my queer church.
Well, we finished tonight's Queer News headlines with a segment we call LGBTQ plus 1 Minute News.
LGBTQ plus 1 Minute News. Let's queer up education. From LGBTQ plus news partner, advocate, and writer Christopher Wiggins. History as largest number LGBTQ plus people ever are running for school board seats. As school boards vote to limit access to LGBTQ-themed books, an advocacy group has found that more LGBTQ plus people are running for school board positions than ever before. Data released by the LGBTQ Victory Fund, a national political organization that works to elect LGBTQ plus people to public office, shows that 82 out people are seeking school board seats. That's more than double the number of 32 in 2018, while in 2020, the number was 43. According to the Victory Fund affiliated Victory Institute's Few and Under Fire, LGBTQ school board members in the U.S. report, quote, as of April, only 90 of the 90,000 school board members in the United States had been known to be out LGBTQ plus people, end quote. Read more at advocate.com.
LGBTQ plus 1 Minute News. Let's queer up gay culture. From LGBTQ plus news partner Gay Cities and writer Dan Renzi. Here are the receipts of Miami's hottest show as designer swimwear hit the runway. Apparently, people are really curious about swimwear trends. Curious about choices of fabric and color? Or maybe everybody just wants to look at hot guys wearing almost no clothes. A team from Stud Muffin NYC and Hercules NYC squeezed their models into an assortment of swim briefs covered with spikes. Ow! Fernando Alberto Atelier was on the ramp with bright colors. Luxury fashion retailer Saks Fifth Avenue hosted a show featuring high-end labels. Mr. XXX turned up with all the sex appeal. Then came the Argyle Grant Show, which was entirely men. The house designs of Argyle Grant received praise for thinking of so many different ways to sew a Speedo. The show was a feast for the eyes, and I am full. Read more at gaycities.com. Hi, Dan.
LGBTQ plus 1 Minute News. Let's queer up religion. From LGBTQ plus news partner LGBTQ Nation and writer John Russell. Conservative Christians launch another Disney boycott, this time because of drag queen in Ironheart show.
I found someone who will require your full potential. Finally.
This new technology is unbelievable.
Enhanced soldiers, private armies.
In the wrong hands, it would bring destruction.
So the world needs the next Iron Man.
Are you going to step up or not?
Anti-LGBTQ organization 1 Million Moms is once again threatening to boycott Disney. This time it's over RuPaul's Drag Race alum Shea Coulee's role in Marvel's upcoming series Ironheart. The show, which will stream on Disney+, centers around a young black woman who designs an Iron Man-esque suit of armor, becoming a superhero in her own right. In August, Disney announced that Jaren Kai Merrill, aka Shea Coulee, had been cast in an unspecified role in the series opposite star Dominique Thorne, who plays the role of Riri Williams / Ironheart. 1 Million Moms is none too happy with the news. Read more at lgbtqnation.com.
LGBTQ plus 1 Minute News. Let's queer up South Florida and Florida. From LGBTQ plus news partner, query and writer Dan Tracer. Interesting new legal challenge could spell doom to Florida's Don't Say Gay. Challengers to Florida's so-called Don't Say Gay law aren't giving up so easily. In late September, a federal judge rejected a suit seeking to block the new law ruling the plaintiffs, a group of LGBTQ plus parents and teachers, did not have legal standing in their case. U.S. District Judge Alan Windsor found that the plaintiffs failed to show a direct link between enforcement of the law and, quote, the resulting harm, end quote. The defendants are the State Board of Education, the Florida Department of Education, and the school boards in Broward, Manatee, Miami-Dade, Orange, and Pasco counties. Windsor also said the plaintiffs could file a revised lawsuit, and the plaintiffs did file them. Read more at queerty.com.
That is today's news for the LGBTQ plus community on the world's first and only daily LGBTQ plus evening news show. Is our community important to you?
No, it's super important to you. So help us by liking and subscribing. Ring the bell for updates. Share the news with your friends and family.
Post this broadcast in many groups you're a member of. Tonight's stories about our community deserve the attention of your family and friends.
Query News Tonight is the only live LGBTQ plus digital television show in the world that is out of the closet and into the headlines. We need your support.
And if our community is to grow, we must tell our stories and bring them to the attention of the broader world. This is the only place in the world that tells these type of LGBTQ plus stories in motion and sound. And that is the passion of the Happening Out Television Network and Queer News Tonight. I'm your anchor, Al Ferguson, and on behalf of these LGBTQ plus reporters, the anchors of Queer News Tonight, including Jeff Oliverio, John Hayden, Dr. Bobby Huen, and Gregg Shapiro. We will see you daily at 8 p.m. But before we end our show, we have one final story.
We're going to queer up the big interview. Mr. Gay World USA, Tony Ardolino, comes to Queer News Tonight after South Africa competition. Mr. Gay World is an annual global contest for gay men that advocates and leads progressive change by promoting the welfare of LGBTQIA+ communities. This year's first runner-up is Tony Ardolino of the United States. Also known as Tony Cannoli, he has worked with actors such as David Hasselhoff and the mistress of dark herself, Elvira, in commercials, apart from his contribution to musicals like Grease and Happy Days. Cannoli started his pageant life by going for Mr. Gay Maine, which he won, after he went on to win Mr. Gay World USA.
Well, tonight we welcome Tony Ardolino, an entertainer from a young age. Tony is an actor who has been in several movies and plays and is also known as a talented singer. He won the title of Mr. Gay World Maine before moving on to Mr. Gay World USA competition here at the Sunshine Cathedral last year, where he also took home that title. We broadcast that event live here at the Happening Out Television Network and have done quite a bit on Hotspots magazine about Tony. Recently, he went to South Africa to compete in Mr. Gay World competition, where he was the first runner-up. And he and the winner of Mr. Gay World is the first time that there has been a winner and a runner-up from the Americas. Welcome, Tony, to Queer News Tonight.
Hi there. Thanks for having me.
Excited to see you again. The last time I saw you, besides you competing in South Africa, was when Faye Watt and I were broadcasting the Stonewall Pride Parade on Welton Drive, and you had that fabulous costume on as you came down Welton Drive. 50,000 people saw you there. We're showing that costume. That was your homage to Captain America there, and among other superheroes.
It's a little gay Captain America.
A little gay Captain America. I met you last year at Mr. Gay USA, the national competition that was here. It was the first men's pageant, gay men's pageant that I had ever been to, having participated in so many drag pageants, Miss Florida, of course, and so many others, and my work at RuPaul's Drag Race. I have to tell you, when I came to Mr. Gay USA, I thought, oh, ho-hum, this is not going to be that interesting. And I was shocked, absolutely shocked, how talented all the guys were, their performance, the costumes, the state representation, interview, everything. The fans that came and supported. I was just shocked. Tell us a little bit about you. First off, before you got into the pageants, and am I using the right word? Should I say pageant, or is it called something else?
I mean, I'm like you. This was my first pageant I ever went to in my life, so I'm over here like, I'm basically a show dog at this point. So, so you can go. Let's call it a dog show. Okay. No, but it's a pageant.
All right. The Pony Show. We'll call it the Pony Show.
The Pony Show. Yeah. There we go.
You had lots of entertainment experience before you competed for Mr. Gay World Maine competition. Tell us about what you did before you got into a pageant, before you got the idea. Tell us a little bit about your entertainment experience.
Yeah, I mean, I've done commercials, I've done film, I produced my own web series and stuff. I toured with Paw Patrol as Ryder, and I toured with Grease and Happy Days as Chachi. So yeah, I was a musical theater guy. I was Chachi, yeah. Of course, right?
Of course.
And I enjoyed every second of it. Being in musical theater, and then COVID happened, so things kind of slowed down a little bit for the musical theater world. And I was dating a guy, and he was a pageant guy. I didn't even know this world existed. And I remember I was like, I think I can do. I think I could do that. I think it'd be fun, And he was like, Tony, I don't think it's much different than acting. And I'm like, I feel like it's, you're on stage, you're being yourself, but it's fun. And we were in Maine, and all of a sudden I won Mr. Gay Maine, and then USA came around the corner, and then I won Mr. Gay USA.
Yeah, and you represented Maine. If memory serves me, you're from Rhode Island, right?
I'm from New Jersey.
New Jersey.
But
okay,
my grandma's from Maine, so I was going up to Maine to visit her, and she passed away, so we were helping to move the house and stuff. And so then, yeah.
Oh, okay, all right.
So it was a nice little homage to her.
Yes, you were a New Englander representing Maine, and you come to Florida and you compete in this pageant. So when you came to Mr. Gay World USA here in Fort Lauderdale, and so many contestants representing so many states, were you surprised of the quality of the talent, and not only beautiful guys, beautiful gay guys, but the talent that they brought in terms of dance and singing and performance and acting and costuming? Did it surprise you how good the guys were in Mr. Gay World USA?
I wouldn't say it surprised me. I think it just excited me. Like I said, I was never really knew about this pageant world, and when I got there to see all what I loved also about this pageant was it wasn't like a cookie cutter pageant. Like there were different races and body types and ages, It wasn't just, a bunch of 21-year-olds standing together being like, okay, like looking like Ken, I look like Super Mario. So like for me to be there, I was like, this is the coolest thing in the world, dude. But
yeah, you weren't looking like Ken, really... and I'm looking at that beautiful picture in the pool. And...
There's my aerialness.
Yeah, your aerialness. Yes, your mermaid realness is what it's called in the pageant world, Tony. So you win Mr. Gay World USA, and I watched the crowning. You were actually very emotional. I remember with a friend of mine that was with me at the pageant. It was another really surprising moment of how important it was. Not that it wasn't important, because it really was, but how emotional you got. Do you remember that moment?
I do. Like I said, I just get off of a breakup, and so what I did was I used all that energy, of being sad and thinking of romanticizing the good times, even though it wasn't so great. I took all the energy and I just started being creative, and I made my costume from scratch, and I was bedazzling a baseball bat for my my swimsuit outfit, and my parents came as well. So all of that, when they put the crown on my head, I went from this guy feeling like, what am I doing, to I'm doing things right. It was a moment where I just felt like, I don't know, I felt special. And I think no matter how old you are, from 1 to 100, I mean, when you have that moment where you feel like Cinderella, I don't know, it's pretty emotional.
Yeah, and another moment that was really terrific for me to watch is, and you revealed it, your parents in the audience. This Mr. Gay World USA is a 2-day event, lots of things going on, interviews and state costume and talent and runway, etc., formal wear, and your parents are there, and as a gay guy that had overwhelming acceptance from a mother, but overwhelming rejection from a father, our ages are different. Your time is different than my time. It was really a moving thing for me to watch your father be so excited to be present and for you. What was that like to have your father in the audience and follow this so closely?
My dad's a sports guy. I grew up, not being forced, but I used to do baseball all the time. And I have a family of, 3 brothers. And so we're a very big sports family, and I was not really good at sports. I used to like, I'd be listening to Wicked upstairs in my room, and my dad'd be like, "I'm not trying to play baseball with us,"
That's right. I don't want to be Mickey Mantle. I want to be Alphaba.
So like I was like, when they said they were coming, it just was over the moon. Like that's all I really needed to see my parents. And when they did place the crown on me, like my parents are crying. And if you would have told that little kid from New Jersey that one day his parents would be there, like I would have never believed you, because I was so scared to come out, as many people were. I just want to make my family proud of me. And like as an Italian kid, you grow up, you marry a nice Italian girl, you have a bunch of kids, and the cycle keeps going. And I was so scared that I was gonna let my parents down, and my parents are just the most amazing people in the world. Like I'm very, very blessed to have them. Like, and you saw like my dad, when I won USA, he took the gay main sash and he put it on. He wore it the whole night.
That's great.
So it was really cool.
So you win USA here in Fort Lauderdale at Sunshine Performing Arts Center, and then it's a whole nother thing. You're representing now the United States of America, and you go to South Africa, to Cape Town to compete in Mr. Gay World, arguably the most prestigious gay men's title in the world. First off, tell me what the experience was like to represent the United States.
Well, just like this whole year has just been the most amazing year of my life. Like I've gotten to travel all over the U.S. I've gotten to talk to kids. I started my Big Brother organization for LGBTQ youth, and we've been doing a mentorship program with Edge, New Jersey as well. So we have all these kids now, and they're like looking up. It's really, really cool. I published my children's book as well for LGBTQ youth. So like this whole thing has been an amazing, amazing experience. So going to Cape Town, Africa, or South Africa, it's just been like a whole like journey. And so when I went there, I was like, regardless what happens, I had the most amazing year of my life. Like I kept on viewing this as, because all the guys were getting very, very in their heads when we were in South Africa, and I kept on saying, like, guys, we won Drag Race. This is just All Stars. Like, just have fun, right. Like, and that's like, and so like and we're going on adventures, and like it was really, really cool. I made such great friends with a bunch of the guys, and I'm gonna, like I said, I have my Gay Big Brother organization, and now we're trying to bring it as well into the other countries. So it's really, really cool.
Awesome. And your experience in Cape Town, first time, was that your first time to Africa?
It was my first time. Yeah, I've never been before.
Yeah,
I used to live in Singapore, so I was excited to see a whole another country.
Yeah, and in South Africa, it has a rich history of diversity in the LGBTQ community. Any thoughts about South Africa and the LGBTQ community there? It's
funny, growing up, the only thing I knew about South Africa was the Disney Channel original movie, The Color of Friendship. Mm-hmm. So to go there and experience it, I mean, it's what it was. I think it's the first country that legalized that you can't discriminate against LGBTQ. And I think that, like, as Americans, we like to think that everything like started with like, in America, but there's other countries that it started with, and like, it's really cool because we actually had to take a test for Mr. Gay World. They tested us knowledge about LGBTQ culture, and I'm very, very happy to admit that I was in the top scoring of that. But it was great. It was just like, because these are things, like in my lifetime, I used to like look up just out of the blue about Stonewall, about things like that, like were interesting to me because this was my culture. And now to be tested on it, it was like, I felt like a third grader being tested on Pokemon. I was like, this is awesome.
Yeah, that's great. Of course, I'm an anchor at Queer News Tonight. We report all of the time as Americans, and including in the LGBTQ community, we think we're at the center of the world. And a lot of people do not realize until they start to travel that there are many places in the world that are far farther than we are in terms of LGBT visibility, rights, protections, marriage, equality, trans equality, etc. All right. So you compete in the pageant. What was your favorite competition at Mr. Gay World in Cape Town?
Oh, I mean, I feel like the pageant-y answer would be interview because I got to talk and don't get me wrong, you know me, I love to talk.
The
But
pageantry answer.
But let me tell you something. When I got to walk on stage as my gay Captain America and to see the crowd go crazy,
Was that your
I
costume?
will treasure that
I
moment.
don't remember that. That was your national costume.
That was my national costume. Yeah,
Oh,
it was.
okay.
It was.
And we
It
got
was
to see
the
it
gay
in Fort
Captain
Lauderdale in
America.
June. Excellent.
Yeah,
Okay.
and originally that wasn't going to be my costume. The only reason was because something happened with the new costume I was going to have, and I just thought, I'm like, you know what? I think that gay Captain America is just gonna turn heads. And when I walked out there, I mean, the whole audience, it looked like space. Like everyone's phones went up. It looked like a bunch of stars just shining. It was just the coolest thing in the world.
That's
That
awesome.
moment to me was one of my favorite moments.
And Tony, you can reveal it now. It's only you and I talking. Mr. Germany
Only
burned
you
your
and I.
other costume, didn't he? He snuck into your.
Not
well,
Germany, never.
not Germany, right? And so you go through the competition. I was expecting you to say talent. Talent wasn't your favorite moment in the pageant.
There wasn't a talent. There wasn't a talent.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, because let me tell you something, Al. If there was a talent, maybe the thing would have been different. Okay,
I was going to say we're going to call for a recount.
There wasn't a talent.
Oh, okay.
A category, yeah.
All right.
It was mostly, I felt like it was a giant runway show, so I was living my best little modeling self.
Yes. All right. Well, Alaska would love that. Jinx wouldn't so much. Jinx was the talent girl. Right.
I'll be the jinx of this. I'll be the jinx.
Exactly. Right. All right. So you get to the final crowning, and somebody from the Americas had never won Mr. Gay World, and really two people.
Well,
Go ahead.
One of the best things was I don't know if you knew this, but my mom surprised me and she came to South Africa.
Oh,
and she was sitting in the front row.
Oh, awesome.
So that was another really cool experience, and so it was really cool to see my mom sitting there in the front row in South Africa of all places.
That's awesome. And so we're at the final event. I watched the final event in streaming. We're going to have to get to the point where, like Mr. Gay World USA, we broadcast it for them because it's a lot more interesting to watch in a live fashion. So we're doing the crowning. There's never been a winner from the Americas of Mr. Gay World. The Philippines seems to do really, really well in Mr. Gay World historically through the years. South Africa won last year. So it comes down to two people from the Americas, you and Mr. Puerto Rico. What was your thoughts when it came down to the two of you? What were you thinking when you were at that moment?
I mean, so it wasn't down to the two of us. It was like a top five, and they just announced
in the order.
third place, second place, and first place. Yeah. So it wasn't. So I mean, after they crowned me as first runner up, I looked and I'm like, oh, it could be anybody at this point because I thought everyone was immensely talented, and it was really, really cool. I mean, like I said, I had that moment in Fort Lauderdale, and so whoever's going to have that moment is just going to be the coolest thing in the world.
Yeah. And did you, like in Miss Congeniality and that moment, did you just hate Puerto Rico at that moment that you just wish
Can you imagine if I was like Gracie Hart? If I was like Gracie Hart, I just took the crown out. Can you imagine, dude? No, there wasn't really a crown. So they gave me a medal too. So it was the exact same medal. So I mean, I would just have two medals. I would do
right. We did a story. We did a story on you after your runner-up, and we also did a story on Mr. Puerto Rico, Mr. Gay World, Puerto Rico, and becoming Mr. Gay World. Were you excited that Mr. Gay World recognizes the Americas? You know, Puerto Rico is as close to the United States as you can get as a territory. Our 51st. Philosophical state. Was it exciting to you to be a part of the pageant where there were basically two Americans that are winning the pageant and runner-up in the pageant? Was that exciting?
Yeah, I mean, it's all about representation too, and like like I said before, I thought any one of those guys could have won. I mean, it was just like I said, it was all stars. I mean, South Africa, he had my heart. He's just an amazing person. Philippines made me laugh nonstop. Czech Republic was also a funny guy. So like everyone was just so amazing. So like I said, it didn't really matter where we were from at this point because listen, we're all humans, I mean, just whoever won, that was just gonna be their moment, and that's what this is all about,
Yeah.
And hopefully, like I said, like this whole thing too is what I like to consider this is there's a bunch of kids and a bunch of just people out there that maybe don't feel seen, and so when they get to see someone that looks like them or acts like them or has the same story as them, like that's what magic is. Like when they see like, wow, I can be my authentic self and wear a crown. Like that's what this is all about.
Yeah, absolutely. And Tony, real quick, let's talk about what's next. Now, if this was like the Kentucky Derby, do you get put out to pasture and you just breed the next lots of new Mr. Gay USAs and Worlds? What's next for you?
Well, like I said, I just published my children's book, Gail the Merboy, which you can find at Barnes and Nobles and Amazon and online. So it's a LGBTQ youth book as well. So it's really, really cool. It's for all the little merboys out there. I'm on a reality show that's coming out in January, but I can't say too much about it. But it's gonna be on Out TV. So look for Tony Cannoli on that. I just did another show for FX, which I can't talk too much about. And yeah, dude, I'm just enjoying every second of my life. And I just got a dog. Literally yesterday, I got a dog. So that's like my biggest thing right now. So I'm just
your
excited.
dog's
Like I
bigger
said,
than your television experience.
Right. He's so cute. I love him. But yeah, I've been doing a bunch of things here and there, and I'm also touring with my LGBTQ Gay Big Brother organization. So we're gonna be talking to kids, and we talk to youth, and we've been doing a bunch of schools to just talk to the kids and about diversity and inclusion, and just not to compare yourself with other people.
Yeah, wonderful. And speaking of touring, you're going to be here for our audience in South Florida. You're going to be here at Sunshine on November 13th. There's going to be a charity variety show, and you're going to be heading that out and a launch for the new Mr. Gay World USA. So we're looking forward to seeing you. Open invitation to come to Queer News Tonight and sit and become a news anchor one evening. That would be great.
I can't wait. I can't wait.
That'd be fun.
I can't wait. You get to hear me sing and then talk to you. So
yeah, exactly.
I'm gonna wear my orange glasses too
on the show before, so that'll be exciting. And then Mr. Gay World USA is going to be here again in South Florida. The new Mr. Gay World USA is going to be crowned in March of 2023. Your time is almost up where we have to put you out to pasture. Tony, you thinking about giving up that crown at the young age that you were at?
I can't wait to be a golden girl, my friend. I'm gonna live back with my little crown. No, like I said, I can't wait because like this whole journey has been an amazing experience for me. I can't wait to see somebody else take my footsteps and do even better than than I have. This whole thing is when I was getting crowned. Nathan and Kyle, they came up to me and they said, like, we've been in your shoes before, and you're gonna go farther than we have, and then after you, they can go farther than you. And I love that whole like, I don't know, that idea. And so like I'm so excited to like gone the farthest that I can go with this, and I just can't wait to see what the next guy does.
Yeah, it's a wonderful concept in the LGBTQ community when we're able to stand on the shoulders of the people that came before us. If you haven't been to a Mr. Gay state pageant, much less to Mr. Gay World USA pageant, you must come to it. It will be really a surprising thing to you. The quality, of course, the men ain't so bad. First and foremost, the men ain't so bad. But the talent that comes in representation, in interview, and runway, and swimsuit, and in state costume, and in talent, it is really an impressive thing for the LGBTQ community to see. Please, go ahead, Tony.
Oh, and what I loved also about it is just like you get to see so many different interpretations of what swimwear is and what talent is. And like I said, there's people all over the world, and they're gonna, like the drag queens in RuPaul's Drag Race, and they're gonna levitate towards, that would be my talent, that would be my swimsuit, and that's what this is. It's just the coolest thing, and I hope it inspires people that you can step on this stage too. You don't need to look like something. You don't need to be something. You don't need to have $1 million. I made my costume from the dollar store supplies.
Yeah,
like you can
awesome.
just go on stage, wear your smile, and just have fun. It's all about fun. I can't stress that enough.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll get into this when you're here on November 13th. Mr. Gay World USA and the pageant system embraces trans men. So we'll talk about the great diversity that goes on in it. Tony Ardolino, runner-up of Mr. Gay World 2022. Congratulations to you. You're still our American winner, Mr. Gay World USA, and you're that until March of 2023, and then we have to throw you out. No, we're not.
Amen.
Exactly. Tony Ardolino, thank you very much for being with us tonight at Queer News Tonight.
Thank you for having me. I can't wait to see you again.
Yeah. LGBTQ+ news is vital for our community and for the broader world as a whole. We have enough enemies at Fox News. Tucker, Sean, and Lara are loud. We need passionate allies. Happening Out television network, Queer News Tonight, and It's Happening Out are literally out of the closet and into the headlines. Our community needs your support. Like this broadcast and subscribe now to ensure the growth of the entire LGBTQ+